What's going on, everybody? Zach here, back with another video, and today I've got another interesting product for you. And this guy is called the Kira Killer, coming out of Minimalist Gear Co. And this guy makes some pretty interesting stuff. Most of what he deals with is 3D printed most anything. Dog collar or dog tags, cup holders, a bunch of cool stuff. Found him on Etsy, and then I came across this guy. And this is a very interesting, tiny little fixed blade. And he's calling this the Kira Killer. I believe because it's reminiscent of I want to say it's pronounced Kiridashi, the Japanese paper cutting knives. And it's very reminiscent of that. And I believe that's why he's calling it the Kira Killer. Some specs before we go ahead and dive into anything. You have what I believe is a 2-inch blade, 1095 Cerakoted full tang fixed blade. It is skeletonized, so there is no scales or anything. US made. I want to say Pennsylvania is where he's located, but regardless, US made. And this thing is awesome. Has a really interesting grind. Let me get up close for you. So you see here, it has a bit of a flat grind right along there, but then you flip it over and it's fully flat on this back end. So I have no idea what to call this grind other than a really weird flat grind. Regardless of that, it works fantastic. This has been my knife all week. I've used this thing exclusively. If I needed a knife for anything, it was this guy. And because I really wanted to give my full opinion on this knife before I made this video, before I gave you any information, and before I recommended it completely. I really wanted to put this through its paces, and I really wanted to put it to work to see all that it could handle. And short answer right up front, this is going to be my fixed blade. Absolutely, this is going to be the knife that I go to anytime I need a knife, because one, it's insanely slim. Being that it is a skeletonized knife with no scales, it is small. So you could throw this in a pocket, put it on your belt. You could put this anywhere and honestly forget about it. And even with the sheath, it is still, the footprint on it is almost non-existent. And out of the sheath, I can get, in my medium to large size hands, I can get a solid 3.5. If I squeeze everything, I can get 4 fingers. But a definite 3 finger, 3.5 finger grip on it, which I didn't know if I was gonna be fully on board with that. But using it all week, I found I was grabbing this knife more than any other knife, more than my utility blades even, because I wanted to, not because I was just testing it out, not because I was trying to get good information for the video. It's because I wanted to, because it genuinely is a good knife. And I'm not talking about just cutting packages open. I'm not talking just cutting plastic or doing any of that. Don't get me wrong, it does that really well. But it also handles bigger tasks as well. Cutting polyvinyl tubing, heavy duty, like thick plastic tubing. If you do any electrical or HVAC work, that seal tight, the liquid tight, that electrical wires come in, hanging off of disconnect boxes to AC units. That type of tubing, this sliced through no problem. And it is on the thicker end as far as stock goes. I don't know how well that is going to pick up, but the stock itself on the blade is pretty thick. And so it's not going to be the best slicer. You're not going to, be cutting paper very well with this, but it is going to handle a lot of heavy duty tasks really, really well. And that's where I feel like this shines, is even though it is small, I'm gonna say that this is small but mighty, because this cuts and performs very similarly to a larger knife. You don't have the same cutting edge that you would get, but for a majority of us and for a lot of tasks, you're not utilizing the full edge of your knife to begin with. This one you are, just because there's a lot less real estate to work with, but again, beside the point. The Cerakote on this is awesome. The Cerakote, I don't think there really is any wear in the finish whatsoever. And then the edge, I have never had really any issues with 1095 steel, and especially with something like this, where it's more along the lines of an EDC knife. You get all of the toughness from 1095, and being Cerakoted, you don't have to worry about it corroding because it's coated. You're not going to have to worry about rust or anything building up on it because there's a coat. If it was a blank 1095 steel, yeah, you'd have to oil this, you'd have to do a bunch of stuff. But that's what I appreciate about coated blades and why 90% of my blades are coated. But yeah, this thing has honestly just been a really nice surprise to work with all of this last week. And the retention itself on the sheath, if you can, it's got a really nice click to it. And I thought with this rounded edge here being flush with the blade, that really the only part of the knife inside of the sheath is the blade, being that it is skeletonized. You know, all of these factors, I was like, how good can the retention on this sheath be? Surprise, surprise, it's really good. Like really, really good. And overall, this knife is awesome. I'll leave his Etsy shop, which is where he primarily sells all of his gear. I'll leave the link to his Etsy shop, to his website. I'll leave all that linked below. But to make a long story short, I 100% recommend this knife. Comes in at 150 bucks, but I think that price is well worth it for a small maker out of the USA with very nice materials. You know, it's not M390, it's not, you know, any of these, but for a working knife, you don't want M390 anyway. You want a working steel that's going to give you the best performance for the job. And for me, for a working knife, 1095 is going to give that to you. So this is the Kira Killer from Minimalist Gear Co. And if you decide to pick one up, let them know that I sent you. And let me know what your thoughts about this down in the comments are. Let me know what your favorite EDC fixed blade as of right now is. And with all of that said, until next time, peace.